Hello everybody, I'm Miss Jessica and I'm here at EVPL McCullough for our awesome STEAM science video. And STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics. And we are going to show you how to grow your own crystals today. Now, I will tell you, it's just kind of a little heads up, I do have a bit of a head cold, so I do have a cough drop in my mouth, so I'm so sorry that I have that going on, and my voice is a little weird, but we are going to keep going. Now, here are some amazing crystals that I have been growing the past couple of days. Got a star, and I think this one is my favorite, a very, very sparkly crystal rainbow. And then I also just did a really amazing, just kind of circle-y crystal. Okay, now to do this at home, you are going to need some borax solution, and this you can find in your store in kind of the laundry section. It's just a laundry booster, so you will find that there. You will also need some string. You will need some type of container, and I would recommend something that is heat resistant because we are going to be putting some very, very hot water in here, and so you want to make sure that it's okay and it's going to take that heat pretty well. You're also going to need pipe cleaners and some scissors. Now, I would also recommend having something like a craft stick or a pencil or a dowel, and I'll show you what that's for here in just a moment. Okay, so to get started, we're gonna go ahead and see how to make the solution, because I have an electric kettle right over here, and this was just boiling just a moment ago, and I don't wanna lose the heat from this water. Now, a couple of things before we start. One, make sure it's okay with your grown-ups before doing any of this at home. The second thing is I always put down some type of plastic tablecloth just so that I can make an easier cleanup time, because I do tend to get very messy. And the other thing is we're gonna have some fun. Okay, so for your solution, you're going to want to do a cup of water to a 1/4 cup of borax. So I'm actually going to start by putting 3 cups of water in here. So we have, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but I can see it next to me. The steam is rising off of this really, really hot water. So this is definitely something you need to talk to your adult or your grown-up about before doing. Okay, so there's 2, and there is 3. Now I've put 3 cups in here. You can probably get by with 2, and that would be enough, but you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're going to be making is able to be submerged and to not touch anything, any of the air, so we want to make sure that the water is going to cover it. Okay, so we've got our 3 cups of water. So now I've got my 1/4 cup scoop, and I'm gonna put 3 of these into our jar. Now what we're doing is we are saturating the solution. So here is 1. Here is 2. And 3. All right, and now we're gonna stir that up. Now, I mentioned earlier that we are trying to saturate the water. Now, what that means is that we are putting so much borax in here that it's no longer able to be dissolved in the water. So we've got this water right here, and as you can see, it is very, very cloudy because I have put the borax in there. Now you want to put enough borax in there that it will dissolve, but will also have so much in there that you will still be able to see some on the bottom and still kind of be pretty cloudy. Now, I know there's sometimes a concern about using borax And I will tell you, I have been using borax in science experiments for years. And as long as you use it properly, you're fine. First, you have to make sure that if you're putting it in any type of water, that you do want to have hot water, almost boiling water, so that it'll dissolve and it will be safe to touch. Now, also, if you do happen to get any on your skin, you do want to wash it off because it can be a little bit of an irritant and kind of get a little itchy, maybe irritate your skin a little bit. But as long as you handle it safely, you'll be fine. Okay, so I've got this nice and stirred up, and I'll try and show you. You can see there's still some on the bottom there. So you want to have enough in there that it will start to settle in the bottom, and then you know I have a really good solution going on here. All right, so our next step is to get our shape ready, and that's using our pipe cleaners. Now, I recommend if you want to do really fun shapes to get some really fun cookie cutters. This is a really easy way to make a shape, and then you don't have to have any special talent with bending your pipe cleaners, because I know for me it's not that easy. Now I will tell you that you can do all kinds of shapes. So like my star here, you can get really creative. I actually saw this on Pinterest and I thought, that's amazing. I want to make a rainbow. So I just use lots of different colored pipe cleaners, bend them into the shape of a rainbow. Since we're about to get into some colder weather, you could even make crystal snowflakes. I decided, hey, you know what? You could even write something with your pipe cleaner. So I made the word read, or you could do your name. Got my heart. Now I've got here just some regular old cookie cutters, and I thought this time I think I'm going to try this really neat looking star shape. Now here's the thing. When you are doing this, you want to make sure that whatever your shape is, it's going to fit into your container. If it doesn't, then this won't work. I will also tell you that you have to be careful that it will fit out of your container. So if you are making something like a heart, if I were to put this in here, it's fine, but as it grows crystals, I want to make sure that it can still come out of the top of this container. So like right now, I have this really amazing snowflake that I made. That would not work because it is not going to fit in my container. But I'll show you some different options for that later. I made this really neat read word. Yeah, that would definitely not fit. It's too long. So whatever it is that you're making, you're going to want to make sure that it can fit in your container, but it can also fit out of your container. And when it goes in your container, it won't touch any of the sides and it won't touch the bottom. Okay, so I've got my pipe cleaner and I am just going to start shaping it to this really neat star shape. And once I've got that done, then I'm going to twist it so it stays together. Here we go, I've got this really neat star. And then I am going to cut off the extra, just like that. All right, now to get this into my container, I'm going to need some string. Now I have just some white cotton string here, but you can use anything, but I will tell you that I do recommend fishing line if possible, because that, once it gets on your item, if you go to cut it later, it's really not visible. Because I will tell you that when I was cutting this really neat fun circle crystal that I've got going on here, you can actually see where I cut that white string, and because it grew with my crystals, it's stuck there. All right, so I'm gonna cut off just a pretty good amount of string, and I'm going to tie it to my star. Now, when you're doing this, I recommend tying in a pretty big loop so that when you do go to cut your string off of your pipe cleaner, that you have some room to get your scissors in there. All right, so we've got a loop just like that. So pretty big loop so that when I do want to cut it later, I can. All right, now here's where my craft stick comes into play. So we are going to dangle our star right down in our solution. And as you can see, it's kind of floating on top, but once it gets some water on there, it'll start to dangle. All right, and now with either a pipe cleaner, a pencil, a dowel rod, anything, I'm gonna wrap that around the top just like that. I didn't even have to tie it. You can tie it, you can tape it if you'd like so that it will stay, but I just wrap it around a couple of times and it stays pretty well. And then we're gonna have to wait. Now this will start forming crystals actually pretty quickly, but I recommend waiting at least 4 hours and if not overnight. Now these I all waited overnight for and they turned out really, really well. This one actually started growing crystals because it was like this in the jar from the bottom of the jar up to the heart. And I had to kind of knock those off and they were just kind of little, it felt like a little bit of like salt chunks to knock off. But this one turned out really, really well and I left that one overnight. So I'm going to put this over to the side. Once you have got it in your jar, you want to try and not disturb it as much as possible. And if you are able to, if you're able to put a cover over your jar or over your container, I would do that because the slower that it cools down, the bigger and better the crystals will be. Okay, so here's one that I actually started today. Now here's where a bigger container can come into play. So I had some vases at home from some flowers that I had gotten. So it was perfect in that it had this really wide mouth. So if I wanted to, I could definitely fit in my snowflake. I just might have to turn it to the side or turn it diagonally. So this is one that I started today. And it has been going for about 4 hours. Now I did put some food coloring in my solution, which you can do, and that will turn your crystals an even darker color or more rich color. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. And got some paper towels that I've already made up over here. And we're just gonna kind of dry this off just a little bit. Now, as you can see, my string even started getting crystals on it. So these crystals will grow pretty quickly and pretty well. So I'm just gonna take my scissors and snip that off. Now, once the crystals harden on your pipe cleaner, they're gonna stay on there pretty well, but just where it was on my string, I can just kind of make those kind of crumbly come off. And my string is on there and I might try to trim that down a little bit later, but yeah, you can see there's still some string pieces. But here is an amazing crystal that looks kind of like a geode or something you would find. Now you do want to let this dry for a little bit. Make sure that the solution gets off of it and that it has some time to kind of just hang out. Make sure it's doing good. Now, how does this all work? How are we growing crystals using just borax and water? Well, borax is also known as sodium borate. It's from the mineral boron. So that's pretty cool that we call borax and it's from boron. Now, crystals are made up of repeating patterns, which you can definitely see in these bigger ones here. And those are just connected molecules in these repeating patterns. Now, they are usually some type of kind of geometric shape with some kind of smooth side. And when we saturated this water earlier, when we put all of that borax in there and saturated the water so that it couldn't dissolve anymore, then that is how these crystals are starting to form. Because the heat causes the molecules to move away from each other and allows more to even dissolve in there. And as the solution starts cooling, the water molecules move closer together, and that's how the crystals form. So that's pretty neat that we are making molecules move to form shapes that look amazing. Now, these you can do all kinds of things with. You can make all kinds of really weird shapes with your pipe cleaners and make some really fun animals. You can use cookie cutters to do some pretty neat shapes. Like I said, you could even do, especially right now, it's the season, some really neat snowflake crystals. Or just make your own fun geodes to have and pass out to your friends or your family. Now, this is a really, really fun gift idea, but it's also really fun just to do for yourself because 1, it doesn't require a lot of materials. 2, it's pretty easy. And 3, it's actually really, really quick. So just now, I was able to make a new solution and also show you all my other neat ones that I made earlier. So I hope you have learned some really neat information on how to make some crystals of your own at home. And we're gonna let this sit overnight and see what else we get. But thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget to go to evpl.org to check out all of our amazing resources on our website. If you go to our YouTube page, EVPL Library, and like and subscribe, then you will be notified anytime we have amazing videos just like this one, and you will never miss any of the fun. And I really, really thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you again soon. I'm Miss Jessica. Bye.